There's a very simple formula that I've always used, and that is when infrastructure precedes growth, the quality of life stays high. Where growth and density precede infrastructure, the quality of life inevitably drops. And so really the role of the state is to focus on that infrastructure piece. The job of the governor, and you'll hear a lot of candidates say this, we need to do this and this and this, and far too often they're usurping the role of local government. As a local government guy, a guy who's served as a city councilman and mayor, I uniquely recognize the importance of our local elected officials. We, the people in our communities, know what's best for our communities, and we don't want to overtake that role at the state. But if we put the infrastructure in the right places, if we continue to invest in infrastructure, then the density and the growth can come in those locations around, for example, track stations, right? Places where we've invested infrastructure and make that possible for that quality of life to stay high.
So we're in a privileged position in that we're ahead of the growth curve through good choices made by our local leaders, city and county, and state level as well. We have a good legislature that has managed our way forward, I think exceptionally well for the most part. And the trick for us will be, how do we maintain, as they say in car racing, that pole position, so that we never lose the fight to growth, because it will be a constant companion. You can't turn it off. Half of it occurs internally, and the rest of it will come because we're, in a sense, in a region where we're close to failing cities and states like California, where the outflow will be steady and probably continuous into the future for quite some time. I don't see California, the basics changing a whole lot. So this is going to be our challenge. And for us, it's going to be, how do we manage both the numbers coming in? So if you just look at the demographic trends, we add another 1 million people probably over the next decade. By 2050, the mid part of the century, will probably be about 6 million people, doubling effectively where we are today. So how do you deal with just the numbers, the velocity of demographics? And then how do you deal with the advance of technology, which will be a part of growth in that people will receive information differently, they'll transport themselves differently, they'll communicate differently. So a lot of the assumptions that we're drawing today, we're going to find in 10, 20, 30 years are already sort of overtaken by the advance of technology.
Multimodal, you know what that means? It means that you're getting from point A to point B on fixed rail, whether it be commuter rail, light rail. You do have our automobiles that are going on. You have bus rapid transit, but you even have the bicycles and the scooters. Any way that people can move, commerce occurs on transportation systems. Everybody has to move. So it's a smart way and a clean air solution to find different ways for people to get around. The way you plan the growth also contributes in a smart way to the air quality. If it's just more tailpipes, if we're just going to expand roads out or we're going to double deck all our freeways, expect the air quality to continue to get worse. That's one approach in terms of multimodal transportation infrastructure and then in how we do it. The second one is, as I mentioned, let's see the growth throughout the state. If the population can grow and there can be prosperity throughout the state, not just found inside the Wasatch Front, then you see that the population won't find its way or try to make its way into one area of the state. You see that, and that reduces your population or the crunch of population growth, which also will contribute to the clean air because people will be able to find those careers and lives that are not just in this valley where we're seeing it get more and more crowded.
In our urban areas, we have an air quality challenge, and we have to start to address that in a really smart way. We know that about 50% of the emissions come from users, so we've got to educate the public in an unprecedented way to have them chip in. And as an example, at a town hall, I talked about cold starts on your vehicle. 60 to 90% of the emissions come in that first little bit when you first start your car. So starting it cold less times makes a big difference. We obviously have Tier 3 gasoline now, where people that are driving 2017 and newer cars can cut their emissions with Tier 3 fuel by 80%. So things are improving, but it's really about the users and inspiring people to shovel instead of snow blow. You know, that inversion comes and gets blown out and we all fire up our snow blowers. Shoveling a little more, cold starting a little less, carpooling, just changing the culture of air quality and putting it top of mind is what's going to be the big thing. And I wish there was one silver bullet that you could say running for governor to solve it, but that's really, it's going to come down to people. And then transportation, look, I mean, transportation is a huge challenge. And sometimes our philosophy with mass transit is, let's build mass transit so that everybody will get off our roads, right? So we can drive on them. And we have to change the culture there too. Mass transit has a place in our society. Moving people around more effectively has a place. And we're going to have to tackle some of the challenges that we've seen with UTA and supporting UDOT at a higher level to make sure that we have not only a good mass transit system, but that we're not just relying on expanding roads.